Hey, what's up, everybody? Welcome to the Game Industry Executive Summary. This is Casey, and of course, we have with us the dashing Dave Fear, and back from I don't know where. You have to remind me, Manu.
I wasn't anywhere as far as
The adventurer.
I mean,
Manu
you must have been
Rosier.
somewhere.
I was busy.
Yeah,
Yes, I travel in my head.
but you are back from Belgium. Last time we saw you, you were in Belgium.
Yes,
Yeah.
and then, I had a short trip also, but no, I'm back. You see, with all my amazing background here, right?
Did you try any fries? What do people do in Belgium?
This is Baradur in Lego.
Oh, that's super exciting. I've seen that box around and been
Which
tempted
one?
by it.
The big one, the box.
And you said
big-
Baradur.
Baradur, the
What's that?
stronghold of Sauron.
And this box,
Oh.
is a Nintendo alarm clock, an open alarm clock, and behind
Very
mouse
excited to hear what's up with that.
mouse map from Elden Ring, also special edition from Bandai Namco. You know everything now about my background.
I mean, you have something bigger, but maybe you don't want to talk about that bigger thing. No. Okay, we're skipping the bigger thing. How are you, Dave?
I'm good. From a Lego perspective, I've got a cherry blossom one.
Oh, yeah.
You know, they have like the
Blossom.
botanicals. So I think one of these days I'm going to make the shelf behind me less horrible. And it will have the Lego cherry blossom when that happens.
I'm trying to browse. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
I like the frame in like an unaligned frames in the back. I think it gives a certain style.
Yeah. Well, do you see what they are? Can you tell from this distance?
Absolutely. But
Awesome.
I have a CD.
So those are the monk ones back there. I've actually got the Pokemon Van Gogh in front of my computer here. So I was so annoyed when like all those collectors bought up that shit because I was like, listen, I am already passionate about collaborations between classic artists and Pokemon. Please don't horn in on my turf.
Yeah.
There's a Lego, like a Van Gogh Lego. Are you talking about the card or about like a Lego thing?
I said Pokemons. So he was pointing these things back here, the frames. Those are from a traveling monk exhibit to Tokyo. So those are all illustrations of Pokemon in the style of Monk's famous painting, The Scream.
Oh, I see.
And so then Van Gogh also had a Pokemon collaboration here in North Holland. And they did have a card that was the whole thing. And I've got two of those as well as some prints behind me.
I am aware about that Pikachu Van Gogh one. It is amazing. Any updates on playing games or such?
Earlier today, I was playing Medieval Dynasty. I'm always a fan of survival games, and this is an interesting one because when I'm in the survival gaming subreddit, and people are always like, "I want a game that does this," and the answer is somehow always Medieval Dynasty. So I figured I would have to check it out, and it's cool. Like it's all about building a village, right? So you need to. In some ways, it has aspects of automation games that you build a woodcutter, and then you give the woodcutter an axe, and they produce wood for you, and you can still do all the stuff on your own, like in a traditional survival game. But yeah, it's all about.
Oh,
yeah,
looks pretty cool.
Yeah, it's been cool so far. It's really opaque, and the UI is not great, so it's prickly at the beginning. But I'm now excited to try and get into the actual meat of it. I've been playing for like 3 hours, and I feel like now stuff is happening that I can understand.
Oh, and it's multiplayer.
Yes, it is. I am not playing it multiplayer, but it is multiplayer.
I am getting. Sorry, Manu. I was gonna say I'm getting some like Satisfactory type vibes as well.
Yeah, no, there's definitely automation components to it. Not like a full Satisfactory with conveyor belts feeding into each other, but it's all about sort of keeping your production running.
I can see that I have that in my library. I think I probably buy it bought it out of the hype when it was
Yeah.
launched. It was in early access, but I've not played it since 2021. Is it?
I think it's full access now. Like it's out. So I don't really know what it was like in 2021, but
Mini.
yeah.
Were there any opportunities for you to play anything last week, Manu?
Yes, playing Fortnite again with the kids. We are because it's the remix season. And
Remix
it's really
season.
remix, Redux. I don't know, OG Chapter 2. Basically,
OG Returns.
the map. Now, right now, the map is a patchwork of POI from previous season and previous maps. So it's really cool because you feel, oh, I remember I was there before. That's not that one, right? That's just normal. This is coming December 6th, exactly.
Oh, and that's the OG. Like, because last time they did an OG, it was like pre-Tilted Tower. It was like after Tilted Towers and that stuff arrived. But I remember that when none of that was there.
And that was very rough, right? For me, the OG is kind of unplayable. But anyway, so remix, yes, Chapter 2 remix. So you find familiar places right on the map because you've played that in previous chapters, and obviously because there is Eminem again and Snoop Dogg in the game as bosses. My kids are kind of hip hop, so it was a good reason to jump in. So it's working, right? It's kind of collab while they're just bringing some stars. It helps, I think, John Player to come back and see what's happening. I think that's very insightful. And
I think so.
The good thing with Fortnite is that when you come back, you feel at home. It's not that the meta is not evolving that much so that it's a completely different game. It's still the same game, but you have some gameplay mechanics or some weapons of some gadget that are being unvaulted and vaulted. But if you've been playing for long enough, you're kind of familiar with all the gadgets.
Well, to be honest, I just never really built. It was too much. It was too much for me.
Too old for building.
Yeah.
The only reason I've become engaged in the game is since they introduced the no build.
Right, of course, yeah.
I only play the no build, and which is funny. When I play with my kids and friends of my kids, they would join our team, but I would say we're not going. We play no build, or I don't play, and they are like lost because they are used to build. That's part of their gameplay. So
yeah, I mean, if that's your strategy, it would be very hard to adapt. Otherwise, I had a funny interaction with like one of my daughter's friends. She was like, I know, I want to tell you about Fortnite. And is this so? In Fortnite, there's like parachutes, and then you practice, and there's shooting, then there's hamster balls, and there's cats, and then there's lights, and I'm like, yeah, this is basically what Fortnite is.
That is cute. Gentlemen, there's something we haven't looked at for a while. I want to get your thoughts about this. So I'm going to do some business here. Jumping into the SteamDB top 20. Is there anything that, is standing out, or is like, oh, this was here before, it's not here anymore?
Yeah, I'm starting to get hungry for some reason.
Hungry?
Yeah, for a banana.
Banana.
Have you tried it out?
No, I haven't. Is it a clicker?
Yes, it is a clicker.
Yeah.
And it was on the second place for a very long time, and now it's down to fourth place. But sorry, just looking at this snapshot for me, this feels like the base of Steam.
Yeah.
Counter-Strike, Dota at the top with PUBG, and then Naraka, Apex, Rust, the usual suspects.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Call of Duty.
Yeah, and I mean everything all the way down is usual suspects, like Stardew Valley as well. Warframe, yeah. And I feel like Baldur's Gate is gonna like fall one spot a month or for like the next year or something like that. Like it's gonna obviously like it's gonna fall down. It's a single player game that doesn't receive updates, but it's gonna do so very slowly.
And I think still Naraka, so it's still under the radar, right? We don't a lot about that game, but the engagement is there. And I've never played it, but there must be something there that makes it.
Yeah, I can check that out. I feel like you're right. It is on the radar, and I've gone too long without knowing anything about Neuronco Blade Points. So there we go.
If
Let's
we can do
download that thing.
some research on that thing. But is it like it feels like a Warframe type game? Would that be accurate to say?
It's a battle royale. It's a battle royale.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
I thought there was some adventure in there.
No.
Nope. No, it's like a fantasy. It's like a battle royale without guns. You know.
Huh. I'm gonna show some footage here while we speak about it. And do we know what makes it special? Like, why would this battle royale be a bit more popular than other ones?
It was pretty early.
No guns, or
yeah. I mean, it's different, right? Most of them are around guns, so there's that, and that allowed it to sort of catch pretty early. It was a relatively fast follow off of the Fortnite craze, and so then it just got in there, you know.
And this is a Chinese studio, is it? Or is this a...
I don't know.
Let's see. I'm gonna go.
That would be really appreciated if we can check that out. But for me right now, I feel like the top 20 is very stable. I mean, we have Wukong is up there.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, they are Chinese.
It's a Chinese studio. Interesting.
Yep.
Published by NetEase Montreal.
Come again, Manu?
Published by NetEase Montreal.
Oh,
yeah.
Oh, there you go. That's very interesting. Okay, now that we covered the top 20, and I'm up to date on what's happening in that realm, how about we jump into the news? What do you think about that? Shall we?
I'm into it.
Okay. Looking at the highlights, the number one item on the list. Around 21% of European game professionals have been laid off in the past year.
Yes.
Ugh. Yes.
Wait, because if you go and see the graph, most of them seems to have found a new job already.
Interesting.
So that's kind of so there's been like a turnover. It's probably higher than other years, but we don't have that data. Like I'm sure on a normal year, like 45% of the workforce will change company, but there's apparently only 6% that are still unemployed after having.
Is there information on how many of them found that job within the video game industry? It doesn't seem to be.
No,
I'd be very curious about that.
Yeah, they said 10% of game professionals took job in the industry. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, obviously, if you're not producing a game that is selling, then unfortunately you're laying off people. I mean, in Sweden, we're looking at studios like Starbreeze, potentially Avalanche, maybe Paradox had some layoffs as well. And then people are moving to other studios, and especially smaller studios as well, that are looking to hire some professionals who've been around for a while. Companies like there was Arrowhead, obviously, with Helldivers. They're looking for tons of people. So that's like, it feels like there's a shifting, something is shifting there. Okay. Then, gentlemen, I'll move over to the second highlight then on the list, which is Blizzard is relaunching WoW Classic with all new, fresh realms, giving players another chance to experience WoW's earliest era.
I find it interesting, the sort of time paradox of WoW Classic, that like it started, at the beginning, and then it kind of moved forward at the same pace that WoW did originally. Then theoretically, it would have just like caught up to the point at which WoW Classic was released. And so I guess it makes sense that they're just going to roll that back before it stops being recognizably WoW Classic.
It's like a Fortnite relaunching again or reopening again each season. What I read is that the engagement for the latest chapter, or the chapter 2 OG launch, was not great, and so they consider that they will just have the OG as a permanent mode also. So it means, I think the idea is like, if players they don't like the new season, they can just go back to what they used to play. So I think that's interesting perspective. And you also might have heard about Overwatch. That's also doing some kind of original. And I think Apex also had something, a mode, like a OG mode, if I remember correctly. So I think interesting that in like a long life cycle live service game that ultimately you come back to the roots. You have enough time in all these years to come back to the roots, and the easy things for the developer and the publisher is that they don't have to create new content. They can just recycle and actually make it better than new exclusive content just by recycling. So I think it's kind of interesting how they manage to.
Yeah, it is a good alignment of like, because people definitely want it. It's a good alignment of what is easy for the developer and what is desired by the players.
I mean, can you guys explain, because I wasn't like a WoW player myself, past level 20. I know that with the later installments, they changed the world, either how it looks, things were damaged or whatever, and things like people didn't like that, or people like wanted to go back. Is that what we're talking about as well when we say OG? That they're removing.
It's I think that's definitely true. Cataclysm was the big thing where they changed stuff, and that's a thing. But with WoW, I think the biggest differences are mechanical, right? So like you play the current version, and there's a dungeon matchmaking system, and it's really easy to just hop in, do a dungeon, and you can play it in this kind of session-based way that we expect to do that. But I remember making the long, lonely trek out through the Plaguelands to the Red Scarlet Cathedral out there, and hoping that someone could join my party to enter the foreboding fortress. And there is that element of scope and journey that is, it doesn't really comport with modern ideas of like just wanting to play a fucking video game. But it's clearly there's something powerful about it that has been activated by WoW Classic.
I copied the link, so it's called Launch Royale for Apex Legends. That's also, because Apex is 2019, so it's 5 years old now, and so they have that mod. But to come back to Blizzard, they also shadow dropped Warcraft 1 and 2 remastered.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. And a giant Warcraft 3 reforged patch, if you remember that kind of disaster.
Manu, am I supposed to see a trend here? We talked about Fortnite OG, Apex OG, WoW OG.
Yeah, the trend is just like milking over and over the same franchises, right?
Yeah.
That's interesting.
And remake and remaster and every single variation of reusing a franchise. I think there is a piece of news which is that we can see after, which is Metal Gear Solid Delta Snake Eater is being remade, as Konami says. Younger generation now unfamiliar with the series. So, this is very.
Well, I think there's an issue, especially with things like Warcraft and things like Metal Gear Solid, is that like technology advanced, graphical technology. Obviously, it continues to advance, but around 2018, it kind of like stabilized. Like, and that's just kind of a random data I pulled out of my head. But like, you don't need to make things look a whole lot better than Uncharted 4, whenever it is that came out. And now you can get to a point where like you remaster it now. And then it's going to be, you can sell it for the next 20 years, probably. Especially with now that backwards compatibility is an expectation. So like, I feel like this is happening right now. It's going to be difficult for people to do it, to do another round, because of just the way that all generations expect things to go going forward.
Yeah. So
it does. Yeah. Is it just me, or does it feel like sequels are not necessarily not as hot anymore, but they're not as quick to produce them? Because it feels like during the Gen 4 PlayStation 4 era, we got Uncharted 2 and 3 and like some DLCs in between fairly quickly.
Mm-hmm.
And then was Uncharted 4 on PS4, or did that? I think that was PS4 as well, right?
Yeah, that was 4. Yeah.
Yeah. And then on PS5, we haven't received anything. Like, it feels like
just
there's
The Last of Us 2.
The Last of Us 2.
Last of Us 2, yeah.
And then the remake of 1, I believe. But we haven't seen Spider-Man.
Yes.
1 was PS4.
Mm-hmm.
Spider-Man 2 is PS5. So we're not seeing that
Yeah.
successive, like, production of sequels the same way. Or if we look back at Mass Effect as an example, 1, 2, 3, in like 8 years or 6 years or so. What are your thoughts?
See, remake are safer bets than sequels. I mean,
Yeah.
we're not even talking about new IPs, right? We're talking about sequels. It feels like it's a success. It will be successful if you just remake a good game, and it's safer than just building on that and creating a new game within the same IP. It's the quick win, right? These
Yeah,
are all
I think, and then there's just the obvious, right? Takes a really long time to make games now because they have to look so nice. And then you run a serious risk of losing the momentum that of your fans.
Mhm.
What's the joke that the PS2 had 3 GTAs and GTA 5 had 3 PlayStations?
Yeah,
That's awesome. I mean, if we look at, let's say, From Software, so we saw Dark Souls 1, 2, 3 in fairly rapid succession. I think 2 or 3 years apart between each one, and then we got Elden Ring.
And Bloodborne's in the mix there too.
Bloodborne is in the mix as well. I mean, they do have 2 teams, I believe, as well, but or more maybe at this stage. Do we expect an Elden Ring 2, or should we expect a completely new IP?
we Armored Core 6 recently, which is also a different team, and we've read that there's like 10 projects in the work right now, but I don't know when they will start delivering that. But From Software, I think it's a studio, is an entity that's able to mass produce great games like every 2 years. So probably the next one is going to be announced soon, but it's not going to be Elden Ring 2.
Yeah, I mean they reuse the shit out of their assets. Like I've killed the same like blob of metal trash in like 6 different games, but like we love them for it, right? Like they spend they spend less time working on that stuff, and they spend more time creating interesting worlds and stories.
Yeah, and high quality, obviously.
Yeah.
Okay, gentlemen, I'll move over to the news then. Number 1 item on the list there. I don't know how to spell this. This time around, I won't be asking you what it is because I was at Gamescom and I saw it with my 2 eyes. But I don't know if it's inZOI or inZOI, however you spell it, launches in early access on March 28th, 2025. It would be good if you could explain what that is for the audience.
That's Sim's competitor, right? I'm already nervous given what happened with Live by You.
Yeah.
It was multiple early access and report and the final cancellation. But here Krafton is behind. They already released the character creator tool a few weeks or months ago. So it's progressing, but you know what you are up against, right? It's just almost like I've never been stronger than before. Is stronger than before. Sorry.
Yeah, I mean, I have the same question about this that I did about Life by You, which is like, is more realism actually beneficial to a life sim? Do I want to throw a realistic human into the swimming pool and take away the ladder, which is such an integral part of how Sims works, is just messing around with these little freaks, you know?
And the key there with the Sims that I think their audience, and correct me on this, the audience age gap, it's pretty big. Or I should probably say not gap. I would say what is it called? It's like a band, rather. The age band is pretty big.
Yeah, I love The Sims. My daughter loves The Sims, and like it's one of the few examples of that where like I didn't start playing it to placate her, and she didn't start playing it to placate me. You know, like we both just like it.
Mm-hmm.
And it falls under that Fortnite type of graphics fidelity, where it's not realistic, it's not cartoony, it's somewhere in betweenish.
Yeah.
Okay. Mm-hmm. Is that the magic space to be in? Maybe.
Yep.
Stylized, as they say.
There you go. Okay, I'll move over to the next item. We're not going to talk about Metal Gear. We already covered that. But Sega has sold Humankind developer Amplitude.
To itself.
To itself? What's going on there?
Amplitude bought itself. I assume they got some money from someone to do so. But yeah.
Oh, so you mean like the developer Amplitude? They actually bought themselves out of the ownership of Sega.
Yeah.
Senior leaders and employees, they bought,
Mm-hmm.
which is interesting. I think it's better than just closing a studio, right? So yeah,
Is
Humankind was kind of an ambitious game, but it's a bit like Civilization, if I remember correctly. But
I'm trying to find it for you.
It was good enough to.
Yeah, they had a big difference with Civilization was that like some aspects of which have now been thrown into the new one. The cultures are not monolithic, right? You can change your culture over time and things like that.
Yeah, I think the problem is you can make the best game like that in the world. It is still a niche audience.
Yeah. Well, so, I feel like the vast majority of 4X fans don't even know that they're 4X fans. They're just Civilization fans.
Yeah.
Fair enough. I mean, speaking of Sega, do we know anything about their, like, I guess, strategy, their portfolio? The last thing, I think the biggest thing they did is the purchase of Angry Birds developer Rovio, right?
Mm-hmm.
And that's mobile focused specifically.
Oh. I saw something about Sega. They want to become the new Disney or something like that.
They want to become the new Disney.
Great. So do I, to be honest.
It was just.
Is that a good thing, though? Considering where Disney's headed in a way?
Yeah, I suppose that's true. Yeah. You always hear that. It's like someone wants to be the new Ubisoft. And it's like, do you?
Grabbing the link from you. Let's have a look here at what you shared with us. So, Sega executive wants to make the company into the next Disney.
No, I'm not saying that. They are saying that.
Yeah, that's Justin Scarpone. Into Hollywood. I mean, we've seen them dive very heavily into the... What was that movie called?
Sonic?
Sonic something. Yes, Sonic. Thank you.
And we know you are excited by the incoming Shinobi movie, right?
Yeah.
Yes, I am really excited about Shinobi. It's one of those franchises that I, sleep and dream about every day.
Yeah. Shinobi's back.
Yes. Do we see any danger here, by the way, for a company like Sega?
Oh, yeah. Well, I feel like if they're making a push into Hollywood, chances are other people are going to foot the bill as well as the potential reputational damage.
Is there even money to be made in Hollywood?
I mean, yeah.
Mando's shaking his head.
I mean,
Mario, right? They mean what happened with Mario. They probably didn't make money with Assassin's Creed. So I guess the question, I just had a discussion with that 2 days ago, is, do you consider a movie as a sort of profit, or is it more of a... Dave?
I was just typing Sonic movie box office.
Okay.
Yeah, sorry. Apologies.
Sonic, I think, did okay, but sorry, continue, Manu.
Yeah. Or is it a marketing tool? Is it an awareness tool? And is it as the cost of making a movie part of the marketing spending instead of just investment?
Yeah. I mean, ideally you get both, right? So I'm looking at Sonic's box office. It made $319 million against an $85 million budget. General rule is to add that much on top for marketing. So it made profit, and more people are aware of Sonic than were before. And also, there's a lot of Sonic shit going on now. Like, there's a Knuckles show, there's a Sonic, there's just a lot. And I feel like it's expanded out from there. And like that was a bet that worked. Sonic
as a character and brand was kind of like almost deadish for a very long time.
Yeah.
But I'm actually very surprised, as an example, that I'm not surprised by the movie specifically. I'm more surprised that now there's more toys in the stores, specifically Lego toys for Sonic, plushies, and these types of things. It does feel like, it doesn't have that appeal like Mario does, but it does feel like they had the momentum that they've built the past year or so, I would say.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, like my 2-year-old son is aware of Sonic, and that's a good barometer, right?
Are there any good Sonic games?
They just did Frontiers.
Frontiers is good.
Whatever it was, the new one. Then they did the new Shadow one, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's interesting because younger kids are exposed to the IP not through video games anymore, but through movies. That's kind of interesting. ton of events.
Yeah, it's an interesting thing. Like whenever my son like encounters a stuffy or a character or something, he's like, "I want to watch the show," and I'm like, "Not everything has a show attached to it." And he's like, "But can I watch the show?" And I'm like, "Yeah, okay, there's a show."
He cracked the code.
Yeah.
Okay, gentlemen, I'll move over to the next item. Speaking of From Software, parent company Kadokawa expands into console and PC publishing. I believe From Software is the only studio that this company owns, if I'm not mistaken.
But do they own other stuff, like other IP, or what
I
are
think
they?
they have like completely different business, and we can check that out actually. Yeah. I think something completely different. It's like, Konami owns gyms and shit.
Yeah, are they like a manga thing, or I feel like I've heard that name.
They are the Octopath Traveler developer. That's what.
Okay, all right.
Okay.
They are growing, right? They're becoming a publisher on top of just being a developer through From Software. I think that's kind of what this news is telling us.
I just read a small snippet here on the Wikipedia, which is that apparently Sony had invested some monies into that company, Kadokawa. Okay, gentlemen. I will move over to the trends then. There is some news about Tequila Works here. The developer behind Rhyme.
Yeah, that's too bad. And the Sexy Brutal, which was a cool game.
This is unfortunate, though I wonder if it was unexpected. I know that they tried to kind of expand a lot and do a multitude of things. Maybe it was too fast, I would say. But let me know what you think. It seems like so they're filing for insolvency. And what does that mean for the layman?
I mean, like, I'm assuming it's bankruptcy. I don't know.
File for insolvency. What does that even mean?
It sounds like bankruptcy to me.
Yes.
Right?
Maybe it's one of those things where they like chop it up in pieces and sell parts of it, or
yeah, basically you say that you can't pay your debts and you can't pay your people, and then like a bank comes in and handles it and tries to manage its dissolution. Sometimes things come back from bankruptcy, but I'm not as sure how that works.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, fair enough. It seems like the founder stepped down, and then there was a new general manager, but I assume that the appointee or the entire point of the new general manager is to kind of get this process done. Fair enough. I'll move over to the next item then. Yakuza creator Nagoshi says the era of game size being most important is coming to an end. I cannot agree enough, Mr. Nagoshi. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, I remember a time when forecasts were based on the how long to beat, right? Like how much was the minimal number of hours you need in your game. And I think right now, because people don't have time anymore, because they are playing live service games, and they are fine to play a bit of something else, but not for 50 hours or 60 hours. I think that's probably the trend that we are seeing. They want more small bits of content. They are not ready to be invested for too long. And I personally have that feeling when I played Tsushima, which is a great game, but in the end, it feels like at some point it's super repetitive, right?
And that's not even a particularly long open world game. Like you can platinum that thing in like 25 hours.
No, come on. Well,
maybe a bit more.
Does the Yeah, I think more. Is the platinum requiring you to collect a lot of shit?
I think it does. It's not 100%. But it's, obviously it's collecting a lot of shit. But like, compared to like Assassin's Creed Valhalla or something like that, it's much, much smaller.
You can always sign me up when it comes to bathing.
Yeah, no, that is some of the best bathing I've seen in a game, as well as some of the best poetry. Right?
Yes. Yes.
But yeah, I'm super jazzed for people to start making shorter narrative experiences. I feel like it's kind of like it's like video Hollywood, right? Like I'm going to go watch my favorite sitcom once a week or more, or every night, and then every once in a while I can go see a movie. And that's kind of like a live service game. Is It's your daily dish, and then every once in a while you can throw a big, a nice fancy AAA thing in there.
Absolutely. I mean, we spoke about this at length multiple times, and even me mentioning like Elden Ring. I love Elden Ring, but I still feel at this point, so I'm 125 hours in. It's too long. I don't need it to be 125 hours.
Yeah.
No, I preface again that I am a collector. I am one of those who want to figure out every nook and cranny and secret and all that stuff and find every single cave. But I still think 125 hours is way too long.
Yeah.
Okay. Good for you, Mr. Nagoshi. And he also opened up a new studio, it seems like, so I wish him the best of luck on that. Next item on the trends, all-time high for game industry in Sweden. Oh, okay. You're welcome. By the way, I was at the Invest in Games Sweden yesterday. Mm-hmm. The Swedish game industry report is out. You can just Google it and you'll find it. Some really interesting data here. I hope you can find some value in it. Anything you'd like to add, Manu, on this?
Well, it's good, right? I when you are not on this market, you external people don't even realize the size of this. It's not really selling games in Sweden or in other territories. It's the amount of people that are skilled and that are working either on site or that are related to studios or to companies that work in video games in Nordic territories. I think I remember there was a story about explaining why there is such a high proportion of video game experts in Sweden, and I think it was related to the years of the PT, the early years of the PT, where it was kind of a traditional activity for Swedish boys to just play or do stuff on PC, and then 20 years later they are all programmer or they are designer and all working the video.
Well, I think also, and I think this was particularly important for early mobile games, which Scandinavia in general did so very well in, is that a strong social safety net just helps people do risky things.
Yep.
Like when mobile games were brand new, it's tough to make the risk when you don't know what the hell's going on with it. You don't know how they're made. You don't know if they're sell. But if you feel like you're not going to starve to death if it all goes wrong, then yeah, give it a shot.
Absolutely. I will add to that as well. Studying in Sweden, you get actually paid by the government. Mm-hmm. I think you get paid 30%. Let's say $1,000 a month. So 30% out of that $1,000, you get paid for free if you're studying, and then the rest is a loan you can take, which has 0.5 or 0.1 interest rate. None of this, U.S. bullshit.
Just like in the U.S.
Just like in the U.S., the good old-fashioned USA.
Yeah.
The land of the free. So it does give an opportunity for those students, especially if we talked about this prior as well, the city of Skövde, and you have Iron Gate, you have Coffee Stain, you have, good Lord, what's that last one now again? The one, not Behind Satisfactory, the other game, never mind. But there's an explosion of them because they're all they're studying, but they're also starting a company and producing a game, which is a huge opportunity for them.
And then you get a snowball effect, once
Absolutely.
you have a strong game industry, it's much easier to keep a strong game industry.
Absolutely. However, I will add something that is very interesting from yesterday's meeting about the Swedish game industry. There is no company on the NASDAQ that is successful. Apart from, you could say Embark. No, not Embark, sorry. Embracer, but obviously Embracer had its own share of problems. Mm-hmm. But none of them have the value that they initially released on the market for. So that's a lesson. Do not go and do an IPO.
If you don't have to, yes.
If you don't have to. It does seem, though, that the Polish market, because there was a Polish expert talking about that, it seems like the Polish market is more successful from an IPO perspective, which is interesting. Gentlemen, I'll move over to the next item on the trends. AMD's desktop PC market share skyrockets amid Intel's Raptor Lake CPU crashing scandal. I love every time I hear news about AMD getting some success. It just brings joy to my heart. But tell me, what's going on here? What's that crashing scandal thing, by the way?
Oh, yeah, there's been a big problem with the previous generation of Intel processor, and they were. It's like that there was a time limit to the hardware somehow, but after some time there was a risk that of failure that was a non-reversible failure. So they patched that, but it created a kind of some emotions within the power user gaming community in the recent month. And I mean, Intel seems to be struggling in general, right? That from a positioning standpoint, for a technical standpoint, and AMD is really leading now when it comes to desktop CPUs, gaming desktop CPUs for sure. So Intel still have the highest share because they put their CPU on laptop and are pre-built work computers. But it feels like Intel is losing ground and is not really having a lot of innovation. And I think there were talk of someone actually buying Intel because Intel stock price is really cratering recently. So yeah, we had the news a few weeks ago about graphic cards where NVIDIA was so much ahead of AMD from a graphic card standpoint. We also had the message from AMD that they want to focus on mainstream graphic card. They are not really purchasing the highest of the highest specs because it's a very niche market. And yeah, but just it's going back down to where it was in 2010. It's a bit like Ubisoft. Ubisoft also went down to 2015 numbers. Yeah. So that's interesting. It's I would say if you are a gamer today, you would probably look to buy an AMD processor and NVIDIA graphic card. I think that's the best combo at this point.
Thank you for that breakdown, Mano. I'm really happy to see, like I said, AMD doing a small comeback there, even though it's like they only own like 20% of the market or something like that. But still,
the gaming market
competition.
that are higher than that. I think if you look at the Steam hardware survey, they are much higher than that because of the reason.
Okay, thank you. We'll move over to the last item in the trends then. Warner Brothers games focusing on Batman, Mortal Kombat, and Hogwarts Legacy moving forward. Yay! Can we give them a round of applause for that? So
Woot.
less live service stuffs, I guess, apart from Mortal Kombat, probably.
Yeah. Oh, and that's more traditional. It's not like MultiVersus. You know, that's a very easy to understand version of live service. You buy a premium game and then you did you hear a thumping in the back? Isn't that?
I think that's Manu giving us a signal of some sort. That's not you? I thought that was you.
No, that's young Mr. Fox
I
upstairs.
thought that was like a signal for Batman or for Mortal Kombat or something like that. I was like, should I expect something now? Okay, please continue, Dave.
Yeah, I mean, like Mortal Kombat is a very different kind of live service than the kind of free to play live service that they have poked into a little bit, and like, obviously Suicide Squad.
So wait a second, did they kill MultiVersus again or not? Is it still up?
I don't know. Is it still up?
Is it not?
Yeah, it's not doing what they want to, but
yeah. Because obviously they brought it back. They're season 4 now, which is very interesting. But they shut it down. They brought it back, but obviously nobody talks about it, MultiVersus.
Yeah, it was too bad. It was a well made game. Well, I mean, it is a well made game in a lot of ways. It's just tough space to be in.
Yeah.
Oh, good lord. Sorry, go ahead, Manu. I'm just going to show you this while you speak.
I mean, there are two things in this piece of news. One thing is that, they might be shifting back to more story-driven or like less live service type of game. But I think what's also interesting is that as the same way as Activision has done, as EA has done, they are more focusing over a smaller number of IPs, which is also a trend, right? You just go for the safe bets, and it doesn't seem that they will explore other IPs in the recent future. It's more about doubling down on the success of Hogwarts Legacy because they've announced.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Good lord. Well, I do hope, because they did find success. Even my kids were playing Hogwarts Legacy. They had a lot of fun doing that.
Yeah.
So,
so
okay.
It makes more sense than to push for the development of a new Hogwarts Legacy game rather than trying yet another formula without being sure of success. Because Hogwarts Legacy 2 will do amazing numbers, most probably.
Thank you. Okay.
Yeah.
There are no rumors this week, so we'll jump directly into the numbers. And I feel like I made a bet with somebody about the Astrobot sales, and I have a feeling I kind of lost that bet because I thought they would have sold a lot more by this time frame. So Astrobot sales top 1.5 million. This is as of November 3rd.
That's not a lot, right?
It's not a lot, no.
Yeah, interesting. What's the top selling first party their PS5 exclusive?
Well, Spider-Man probably, or God of War.
Arrowhead and Helldivers.
Yeah, but they sold a lot on PC, right?
Yeah,
I'd be curious to see just to see kind of where the ceiling is for a PS5 exclusive.
Yeah,
we appreciate if you can do some.
Let's see. Well, yeah, because it's going to be a little tough because a lot of these are now tainted by PC sales. Stellar Blade. I didn't realize that was an exclusive. It must have been on PC too.
What was that hero shooter called? That sold a ton.
Concord.
Yeah, that everyone wanted to play that. So Marvel Spider-Man 2. That is
20 million.
This is 11 million.
11 million.
Yeah.
And I think, yeah, that seems to be, so 1.5 is significantly lower than that.
Oh, I mean, I'm assuming because I think the studio was like 50, 60 people, so it might like the budget for that game should have been. Yeah. They probably broke even at least by this point.
Looks like Ratchet and Clank, which was super early exclusive, that was 3.97.
That's ripped apart, right?
Yeah, though this article is from 2023, but yeah. I probably have moved a ton since then.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, I'll move over to the next numbers item. Report says 76% of kids are asking for video games this holiday. That's
yes. And as a joke I made with some friends, like probably 24% are asking for money to buy video games.
Yeah, well, my big question is: are they asking for video games, or are they asking for currency in video games?
Yes,
probably the latter.
Yeah,
I was just about to ask the same exact question. Let me see here. Do we know if there's like a breakdown of that? If there's a here, the top 5 specific video game related requests for children are for video game consoles, game subscription services. So what you were saying, and then console games. So
in-game currency is listed there, 38. So game subscription services, I guess, is referring to like Game Pass.
But wait a second. How is this adding up? It's all in the 40s.
Well, I think people can ask for more than one thing. Santa's bag is broad and wide.
Thank you, Dave. Thank you.
As is the Hanukkah zombies cart.
We'll add and maybe if we are lucky, we'll find Ramadan during the same period in a couple of years, maybe in 10 years from now. Okay. The UK gaming market grew by 3.2% year over year in October 2024.
Yeah, I think what's interesting there is, I don't know if there, but that's something I read, is that Call of Duty performed well ahead of last year, except on Xbox. So we saw really a disconnect between Xbox and the other platform for Call of Duty, which really highlights the impact of the Game Pass, of having the game in the Game Pass. So I think, all these games in the future will be difficult to compare year on year, or you would have to exclude Xbox from that if you want to a comparison.
I'm very surprised to see Silent Hill 2 that high up on the list, considering the type of genre it is. But I think, Dave, you were saying horror games are actually very popular these days, right?
Yeah, definitely. If you look at like, especially for indie games and that kind of thing, horror is one of the more reliable bets you can make. Not that there's reliable bets in making indie games, of course, but a lot of the top sellers on Steam are horror.
Yeah.
Because speaking of people not getting to know or forgetting about an IP, are there any comments there about Silent Hill 2, Manu, that you'd like to add?
Oh, I think it's good. The game is good, right? First of all, the game is good. It's a great remake. I think it benefits also from the aura of Resident Evil being in a very good health also lately, thanks to the remakes and to the new games. And it's been a long time coming, right? This Silent Hill 2 remaster. So I think there is still a huge fan base for this kind of games. Also, more horror games fan.
And it sort of benefits from the fact that the IP was dormant for so long that everyone our age that liked it back then, it hasn't turned into something else in the meantime.
Absolutely, it's good news. I mean, I like
absolutely. Okay, then I'll move on to the last item on the list, and this is one of those questions. Then, what the hell is Infinity Nikki? Because Infinity Nikki hit 30 million pre-registrations ahead of launch later this year.
That sound like a lot of vowels.
Tell me, Infinity Nikki. There is a Sticky Nikki in Stockholm if you're looking for gelato.
Yeah.
But Infinity Nikki is a new one.
I'm usually looking for gelato. I think about this. Looks cool.
It's it's about collecting stuff and having nice outfits and having powers from your outfits. So I think it's
Dave has.
I thought there would be less noise because they're upstairs, but apparently it's just different noise.
We enjoy the background noise here.
Excellent.
Yeah. Manu, tell us more about Infinity Nikki.
Not like much about it, but it looks nice, right? It looks like
it does look nice.
A cozy game where you enjoy. There's probably not so much fighting involved or like stress or anything. So I guess there is also a significant fan base for this kind of visuals. To put it that way. And,
is it on Steam? I'm not seeing it on Steam.
It might not be. So I mean, it's probably coming mostly from Asian territory, right?
This is extremely interesting compared to the other game we were looking at, the inZOI the Sims look-alike thing. It feels like this might have a bigger chance to succeed due to the arts and graphics of it. Mm-hmm. But I'm very interested about this question, which is the gender distribution for this type of game.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
What do you think is happening here?
I'm not an expert of that kind of demographic. I mean, there's probably, yes, I don't want to be too cliche neither. It's not because it's like a female protagonist that would mean more women or girls would be playing the game. But it's probably going to be attracting potentially a new audience, right? I think I see it more like that than
absolutely.
Really.
Yeah, it looks it's got. I mean, obviously, all I've seen is what I'm seeing right now, but it's a cozy game. Like what I'm seeing right now is a cozy game, but obviously it earlier had some non-cozy game looking things to it, which I think I always like to seeing that stuff played with a little bit more.
I'm extremely impressed. I mean, graphics, gameplay seems to be awesome. Cuteness is like top notch.
Yes.
And there's like, these several different types of games. I mean, obviously no violence, right? But there's seems like, okay, you're taking care of animals, you're maybe building some stuff, you're traversing the environment. It's extremely beautiful. I'm also reminded a lot about what's Genshin Impact. I'm getting those types of feelings as well.
Yeah, a little bit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's bowling. There's wow. Who's behind this game? Now I'm very interested in learning more. It says Singapore here, but I'm not sure if it's a Singapore-based studio. Infold Games.
And Paper Games behind them.
Come again?
Paper Games.
Paper Games.
Yes.
Interesting. And is this their first title?
Yeah, it's not the first Nikki game neither, right? It's I think there have been mobile games before.
Now I see.
Since 2012, so it's really just maybe they are jumping on HD after 10 years in mobile, and that's what makes it bigger. A bit like when Monster Hunter World was kind of launched on HD platform.
Seems like they started on phone market, and was like a dressing type story thing, and then it slowly evolved over. You talked about paper games, and then now we're in this 3D world.
Yeah.
Okay. Very interesting, I would say, in my opinion, maybe a title to look at in the future, Infinity Nikki. Gentlemen, we have reached the end of the news, I would say. Anything else you'd like to add? Or subtract? For those who are listening at home, obviously, do all the social stuff that we normally ask you for. Again, MikeDiamonds.substack.com. Subscribe to the Game Industry Executive Summary. I would probably not bother watching this podcast or listen to it. I would probably just the number one priority is to subscribe to the newsletter. Any support you provide is greatly appreciated. Manu, thank you so much for your unwavering, unending, unlimited knowledge.
Yes.
Dave, thank you for the comedy and for your
Some
very
knowledge.
some knowledge.
Yeah,
yes. Okay. With that being said, thank you for joining us, everybody, and we'll see you on the next one.
Bye.